We all love being part of a community, right? Especially online. I'm talking about that fan page for your favorite show, or maybe that group for your go-to coffee brand. They just feel like a great way to connect with people who get it. But what if that sense of belonging actually has a hidden cost? Okay, let's dive into this.
Yeah, it's a pretty direct question, isn't it? And honestly, it's one I've definitely asked myself. We're about to get into some really fascinating new research that, well, it uncovers a potential dark side to those online communities we love. We're talking about how they might be affecting our mental health in ways we just don't see coming.
Okay, so before we jump into that dark side, we really have to understand the appeal. I mean, why are we so drawn to these places to begin with? What is it that makes them feel so essential to our online lives?
Well, at its heart, it's pretty simple, right? We're looking for connection. We want to find people who just get it, People who share our passions. These groups, the research calls them social media brand communities, or SMBCs, they feel like a refuge, a place to escape the daily grind and just geek out over something we love.
And the researchers behind the study, they actually have a name for this whole idea: social media escapism. It's that feeling, that instinct to just dive into your phone for a quick break, right? To forget about work or whatever real-world stress is going on. And you know what? For a little while, it totally works. But this is where our story starts to take a turn.
So what happens when that escape starts to feel more like a trap? Well, a recent study, and this thing ran for a full 12 months with over 800 people, set out to find exactly that. And the results? They show how this positive escape can slowly, almost silently, start to sour over time.
And here is the absolute crucial point. The very thing we do to relieve stress, participating in these communities, can actually become a source of stress itself, especially when we do it nonstop. Think about it. That constant pressure to keep up, to engage, to be present. Yeah, it really starts to take a toll.
Okay, now this is really interesting. Just look at how this plays out over time. At the very beginning of the study, participation didn't really cause much fatigue. You can see that first bar is pretty low. But then look at that second bar. After a whole year of sustained participation, that feeling of being drained just shoots way, way up. It's the perfect illustration of the cumulative cost of always being plugged in.
And this feeling has a name: social media fatigue. And let's be clear, this isn't just feeling a little bit tired. We're talking about a deep mental exhaustion. It's that feeling of being totally overwhelmed by all the notifications, the posts, the arguments, just the sheer volume of everything.
Okay, so we've got this first piece: long-term participation acts as a stressor, and that leads to fatigue. But what happens next? What are the consequences of that fatigue? Well, the research shows it's basically a chain reaction, and it can seriously impact our well-being.
The researchers actually mapped this whole journey out. Think of it like this. First, you have the stressor, which is that sustained participation. This leads to the strain, which is the social media fatigue we just talked about. Then, that fatigue makes us way more vulnerable to negative emotions. And all of that leads to the final outcome: psychological ill-being.
I mean, it just makes sense, right? When you're already exhausted, you're so much more likely to get annoyed or frustrated by things. And the study confirmed this, big time. It found that as fatigue went up, so did feelings like anger and disappointment inside these communities. Suddenly, that fun escape doesn't feel so fun anymore.
And this brings us to the final and honestly the most serious piece of this puzzle. When the study talks about psychological ill-being, they're not being vague. They're looking for real-world symptoms of two major mental health challenges: anxiety and depression. So yeah, the stakes here are incredibly high.
But this is where the research gets really interesting, because the data uncovered something that kind of goes against what most of us assume about social media and anxiety.
I mean, it seems logical, right? We've all heard of information overload. You'd think that endless fire hose of posts and updates has to be a direct cause of our stress. It feels like the most obvious culprit in the room.
But the data tells a different story. And this is a big surprise. While long-term participation did cause information overload, the study found it wasn't the direct trigger for anxiety or depression. The real culprit? It was the emotional drain, the fatigue, and the negative interactions that come with it. And that is a huge insight. It's not about the amount of content we're seeing, it's about the emotional quality of how we engage with it. That's what truly impacts our well-being. Okay, so what do we do with all this information? The good news is the study doesn't just point out the problem. It actually offers a path forward. This is the so what part, with clear, actionable takeaways for pretty much everyone.
First up, for us, for you and me, the users, the message is all about being more mindful. It's about actually managing your time online, maybe even using an app to set some boundaries. The real goal here is to find that healthy balance with your offline life and to make sure your participation feels like a choice, not an obligation.
But hey, it's not all on us. The folks who manage these communities, they have a huge responsibility too. This means they need to think about how often they're posting and really work to build a positive, supportive, and fair environment. It's about shifting the focus away from just chasing engagement numbers and toward creating a genuinely healthy space for everyone.
And if we zoom out even further to the really big picture, policymakers also have a role to play in shaping a healthier digital world. This could mean things like partnering with agencies to raise awareness about this stuff, especially for younger users who are more vulnerable. It means things like integrating digital literacy into school curriculums and promoting healthier ways to escape, like sports or the arts.
So as we wrap this up, the research really leaves us with a powerful question to think about. It's time for all of us to take a really honest look at our own social media habits. So ask yourself, are those online communities you're in, are they a healthy escape, or have they slowly become another hidden stressor in your life? Answering that question might just be the key to building a much, much healthier relationship with our digital world.